Per Pete Thamel, West Virginia gets its guy. Rich Rod has done it, baby. Rich Rod has snagged Zach Alley. According to Pete Thamel, Zach Alley, the defensive coordinator, or co-defensive coordinator, I should say, at Oklahoma, is leaving the Sooners to come be Rich Rod's DC in Morgantown. That's right. Oklahoma, from the SEC, a blue blood program, or at least if they're not blue blood, they're darn near close to it. A coach is leaving there to come to lowly little Morgantown, according to Oklahoma fans, to be the defensive coordinator for Rich Rod. And that's right, it is worthy of breaking out the coonskin cap, in my opinion. I don't break this out unless it's something major and something positive, and I think this deserves it. Zach Alley, bright, young defensive mind, mentored by Brent Venables at Clemson, now at Oklahoma, coming to Morgantown. Huge, huge news that all West Virginia fans have been waiting on. It's obvious they were waiting for Oklahoma to play their bowl game to make the announcement, to finalize the deal. Today, it leaked to the media, and Pete Thamel came out with the report. I'll go ahead and share it with you real quick. Sources. West Virginia is finalizing a 3-year deal to make Zach Alley the school's new defensive coordinator. He's been the DC at Oklahoma and worked for Rich Rodriguez as DC at Jacksonville State. That was Pete Thamel's report that came out at 5:23 p.m., which is about an hour and a half before I started this live stream. So it's done. He got his guy. West Virginia fans, we should be excited. And I want to thank all of you who are joining the show, whether you're joining on YouTube or whether you're joining on X. Thank you for joining. If you're on X, do me a favor. Once this show's over, if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel yet, please go do that. Please subscribe. Please check out past shows. Please hit notification bell. Please turn your notifications on so you'll be notified of future videos. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers over there on YouTube. It's a big number for us YouTubers. All right. Guys, ladies, gentlemen, I am so excited. I am absolutely stoked. But I can tell you who's not stoked. Oklahoma fans. Oklahoma fans, it's been a rough weekend. They lose to Navy in a bowl game. Now they lose their hotshot co-defensive coordinator, someone who was called Mini BV, according to some articles. He had called Brent Venables his second father at one point. Brent Venables is his mentor, folks. And he's leaving his mentor in an SEC program to come to West Virginia. I'm just going to read you a few of the comments I've seen on message boards. I'm not going to read all of them because this is behind a paywall. But this is how they're not taking it well. Let's just put it that way. Go back here to the first page of the message board. All right. These are some of the comments by Oklahoma fans. I'm sorry, but I feel like being negative. He's a loser if he leaves OU for a third-tier program. They're calling us a third-tier program. They're so butthurt. I'm not even going to say second tier. They have been irrelevant since 1988. One fan says, please, no more torture. Tom, talking about Tom Green, the reporter, he says, Tom, you're respected. How do you view this if you are drinking truth serum? This isn't a coach leaving for South Carolina. Step down in league and prestige after working with his mentor. Guys, here's another one. Please tell me it's going to be okay. Any chance Thamel is wrong? They don't want to believe it. And then, of course, a lot of the remarks are negative towards Oklahoma as a program. Some negative comments towards their AD, Joe Castiglione. So anyway, I just wanted to read you a couple of those comments and tell you how bad it is for Oklahoma fans right now. And there are a lot of Oklahoma fans out there who I like and respect. And then there are some who I don't care for, who are loudmouths on social media. I do plan there are a few Oklahoma YouTube channels or podcasters that I do have good relationships with. I do hope to have at least one of them on the show to talk about Zach Alley and what this loss means to them and what kind of pickup it is for the Mountaineers. I'm trying to plan that as we speak. But, man, I just cannot stress how great this is. I did a video earlier today talking about the offensive line hire that Rich Rod made and how I thought that was a good move. After that, we heard that Jeff Castile, Rich Rod's former DC, is coming back to the program in some role. That was out on social media. And now, Rich Rod lands his big fish. He lands Zach Alley from Oklahoma. I am so excited. I'm so excited. I forgot to give a shout out to my sponsor, and I'm going to do that right now. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. Thank you for being patient. Let me get through the housekeeping, and thank you for coming live with me tonight to talk about this breaking news. It's not really breaking at this point. It's an hour and a half old, but still, it's big news about Zach Alley coming to Morgantown. I want to recognize a few people in the comments, and then I want to talk about Zach Alley's resume, okay? So let's get to the comments. We've got Daniel Gigax, who's a VIP member in the house. He says, Eric Flowers, we haven't seen anything too bad. Some smack talk is okay. If it's personal, that's different. I guess he's talking about being a channel moderator here. Brent says, good job. Earth Ether says, hell yes. Says he's pouring him up a top shelf while listening. Matt Dix in the house says Navy would have scored 56 on WVU this year. Probably so. Great point. Navy beat Oklahoma 21-20 in the bowl game. Baron O. Beef Dip, who's a VIP member, says, we still are going to need the time to adjust to the new players coming in. Maybe. But if Rich Rod's getting guys who he feels comfortable with in his system, and speaking of guys coming in, could this lead to Oklahoma players entering the transfer portal? Because remember, if you played a late bowl game, you get another 5 days to enter the portal after your bowl game. Even though the portal window actually closed today, those players get an additional 5 days to enter. So they still have 5 more days. Could we see Oklahoma players entering the transfer portal because they want to follow Zach Alley to West Virginia? It's very possible. So keep your eyes open for that. Daniel Gigax says, laughing at OU is fun, but Pitt falling apart is hilarious. It is hilarious. ESP. Earth Ether says pitch dribbling down their leg. And WV Fan 13, that's a great question. Who is having a worse postseason, Oklahoma or Pitt? I'd put it as a toss-up right now, to be honest with you. Earth Ether says we're going to be the flagship of the Big 12. I'm not going to go that far just yet, Earth Ether. I don't want to drink that Kool-Aid just yet. That Kool-Aid's a little strong for me right now. I think they have a chance to be, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. Rob Ross in the house. I recommend you go check out his show. It's called he has his own podcast. And Rob, I'm sorry, brother. I know it's to succeed. I'm drawing a complete blank, having a huge brain fart here, and I'll totally apologize. But anyway, go check out Rob's. Go check out Rob on X. You can find his podcast over there. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on it the other day, and I apologize for the brain fart, Rob. We've got, again, Earth Ether in the house. We got several VIP members in the house. Thank you all for hopping in. OU Twitter is in Coke mode. You got that right, baby. I hate to rub it in too much, man. I don't want to rub it into their face too much because, like I said, there are a few Oklahoma podcasters and fans that I do have a respect for, and I'm not trying to rub it in their face. But it's so rare that we as West Virginia fans get to celebrate something like this. How often do we get to snag a coach, a coordinator at that, from an SEC school, a team who you could potentially consider a blue blood program, who has basically owned West Virginia in the win-loss column over the last decade or plus? How often is it that we get to celebrate something like that? So, yes, I'm going to talk a little smack, but I'm going to try to be funny and not disrespectful. Jeff Ruff, yes, I broke out the Couz skin cap. Great comment, brother. I do have a couple super chats to get to. We got Big Dan T in the house. Big Dan T says, now I think we can get some better transfers. This will raise eyebrows. That's another positive of this. It shows that West Virginia is ready to compete in big boy football and big time football. It shows that maybe they do have the resources to hire a great staff. It shows they're serious about football at West Virginia, and that Ren Baker and Rich Rod have meant everything they've said. They're going out and trying to get it done. They're hiring. This is a big get. Zach Alley is one of the hottest young up-and-coming coordinators in the country. He got his first defensive coordinator job at 27 years old, was the youngest coordinator in the country. And he's done a great job everywhere he's been. I'll talk about that here in just a minute. We've also got Appalachia Africa Twin dropping the super chat. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin. He says, I'm so excited. I'm going to give a shout out to Best Big 12 channel on YouTube. Couz's Corner. Smash the darn subscribe button, peeps, and spot the damn ball. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin. I really appreciate the support. You have been a huge supporter, as has Big Dan T. You have both been major supporters of my channel. I thank you both. And guys, if you can't give financially, I totally get it. But you can do something for me that's free and very easy. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're in the chat right now, you can X out of the chat box. You can still hear me. Go up and hit the thumbs up button, and then all you got to do is go back to the comment section and click back in it, and it'll bring the chat box right back up. Bada bing, bada boom. You don't have to miss any of the show. It only takes a second. And that thumbs up button really pushes this out to more people and helps that algorithm. Even if you're watching this on the replay, hit the thumbs up button. It still helps. Comments help. Shares help. All of that helps me grow. I'm on the way to 10K, and I need your help. All right. Let's go. And thank you, Leroy. He says he subbed. Thank you very much. Rob, did you put the name of your podcast in here? I want to make sure I shout you out properly. I don't see it. But anyway, Rob, go check Rob out on X and go check out his podcast. I was privileged to be on it the other day, and I feel terrible that I forgot the name of it. Anyway, it's all good. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Zach Alley's resume. Okay. He actually got hired to be the DC at Louisiana Monroe by Terry Bowden, who was coach at Louisiana Monroe back in 2021. Brent Venables actually recommended Alley to Bowden because Alley had worked under Venables at Clemson. He was on that staff at Clemson, started out as a GA and worked his way up. He was the youngest coordinator in the FBS. I said 27. I think he might have been 28. I apologize if I misspoke there. But it says he and this is from the Jacksonville State coach's bio page. It says he turned what was at Louisiana Monroe. He turned what was the 125th ranked rushing defense in FBS in 2020 into the 69th ranked rushing defense in 2021, and saw the Warhawks, ULM Warhawks, improve in the national rankings in 11 of the 14 defensive categories from 2020 to 2021. Okay, so that was his stop at Louisiana Monroe. Okay, now let's skip ahead. And let's look at what he did at Oklahoma. Now, he was only at Oklahoma a year, and he was the co-DC, but based on Oklahoma people I've talked to, he was the play caller at Oklahoma, okay? He was calling the plays. At least that's what I was told. But here are the statistics. He took over beginning of the 2020 in 2024. In 2023, OU's pass D was ranked 109th in the country. We can relate to that, can't we, West Virginia fans? Because West Virginia was like 133rd or 134th or 130-something in the country in pass defense in 2024, one of the worst in the country. OU was not much better than that in 23. Well, in 2024, after Alley came on board, they went all the way up to 55th in the country, okay? Their rush that was in pass defense. Their rush defense went from 42nd in the country in 2023 to 12th in the country in 2024. Their scoring defense went from 46th in the country in 2023 to 32nd in the country in 2024. And here, listen to this one. Their total overall defense, which is yards allowed, right? They were 77th in the nation in 2023. Before that bowl game, these stats are all pre-bowl game, okay? They were 19th in the country in total defense, was Oklahoma. Now, they only finished, I get it, they finished 6-6 in the regular season, but the majority of their issues, if not all their issues, were on the offensive side of the football, not on the defensive side of the football, okay? Their issues were on defense. That's why Brent Venables went out and fired his offensive coordinator mid-season. Promoted somebody from within, and when the season was over, he fired him, went out and got Ben Arbuckle from Washington State to fix the offense. Well, now he's going to have to hire somebody else apparently on the defensive side. Now, they do have a co-DC over there at OU as well, along with Allie, but again, based on what I was told by the folks I know on the Oklahoma side, he was calling the plays. So it'll be anxious to find out if we ever hear why he left Oklahoma. Here's my theory. Number one, he was a co-DC. Even though he may have been the quote-unquote play caller, he probably did not have full control. Then you add in the fact that Brent Venables is the head coach, who's a defensive guy as well. He's likely going to put his stamp and his fingerprints on everything. So would he ever really be the true, quote-unquote, true defensive coordinator as long as Venables is there? And it doesn't mean he doesn't love Venables, doesn't mean he doesn't like working for Venables, right? But he wants to carve his own path, be his own man, and with Rich Rod, who's an offensive guy, it gives him a chance to do that, okay? And then two, it's kind of a mess at Oklahoma. Fans are already wanting Brent Venables fired. It's not a great time at Oklahoma, and maybe he sees the writing on the wall that Venables and the staff could be fired, if not this offseason, at least next year, and maybe he doesn't want to deal with that, and maybe he wants to come to West Virginia where he feels like he has more security, more job security, where he's signing a 3-year deal. Rich Rod has signed a 5-year deal, and he feels like it's a better opportunity for him long-term to have job security by coaching in Morgantown instead of Oklahoma. And let's face it, there's a little bit less pressure at West Virginia probably than there is at Oklahoma. Even though our fans are passionate, we're passionate. We love our team. We get mad when they lose. We love them when they win. And yes, we have people like, and speaking of this, Kurt Hurley's in the house. I'll talk about his chat in a minute, but we have people like the Wolfpack putting up billboards. That's how passionate our fan base is. But Oklahoma, you think West Virginia fans put pressure on people? You think West Virginia fans are passionate? Oklahoma takes it to a whole nother level. That's one of the reasons they wanted to go to the SEC, I would assume. So that is maybe he feels like he'll be under less pressure at West Virginia. Now, somebody as young as him, as competitive as him, probably not worried too much about pressure. But I mean, this guy's 30, 31, 32 years old, somewhere in there, and he's already one of the hottest young minds in football. Now, here's if there's a negative to hiring him, if there's a negative, you could say, well, if he's such a young up-and-comer, he's likely going to be a head coach soon. So West Virginia could potentially be a stepping stone job for him. Maybe he comes to West Virginia. He's only here 2 or 3 years, and I saw this mentioned in the chat by Daniel. Maybe he's only at West Virginia 2 to 3 years, and then he jumps over to a head coaching job. That's okay. Because you know what that means? If he does a good enough job at West Virginia that he's a candidate to be a head coach somewhere, you know what that means? It means West Virginia was probably winning a lot of football games. And it means that West Virginia is back on the national map, and it means that West Virginia is respected again nationally. And it may even mean, hopefully, that they're competing for Big 12 titles. So I'm okay if he's here 2 or 3 years and then go get a head coaching job, because that means we're winning. And he would leave the defense in a great spot, and I would trust Rich Rod to go out and get his replacement. So you can't look at that kind of stuff as a negative, because it means you're doing something right. And Sandlapper, it's a great question. I don't know what Jeff Castell's role will be. It hasn't been announced yet. None of this has actually been announced by West Virginia. It's all just been media leaks. But I would imagine he'll probably either coach the secondary or the linebackers, because most of his career, if I recall, has been coaching one of those two positions. I did hear from a source, and I haven't confirmed this, but I did hear from a source that he likely won't be on the road recruiting. Castille's coming out of retirement to take the job, so he may not want to do all that traveling. But the way the rules are now in college football, as long you can have as many coaches as you want, you just can't have more than 10 that go recruit. So Rich Rod can hire 10 coaches that recruit, and not all of his coaches. He can have other coaches on staff who don't recruit. I think that was going to be Rick Trickett's role had he came. So anyway, let's get to I've got another super chat here from Kurt Hurley. Kurt says, WVU plays defense again in 2025. Let's go Mountaineers, the Wolfpack. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for the support, my brother. And for those of you who don't know, Kurt is one of the members of the Wolfpack. May even be the organizer of it. But he's definitely one of the voices for the Wolfpack, for sure. Thank him for his support of Mountaineer sports. Thank him for his support of Couz's Corner. And I know he's done a lot to help Mountaineer Paul over at Locked On. So thank him for supporting West Virginia-driven YouTube channels, for supporting what we're trying to do here as these fan-based, fan-driven channels who, quite honestly, sometimes don't get a whole lot of respect. But anyway, we've got another super chat here by Appalachia Africa Twin. He says, Iowa State just went up on Miami. 42-41 ISU. Go Cyclones. 56 seconds left. Go Big 12. Man, I was watching that game, and when this news broke, I said, I have got to do a live show. So, unfortunately, I have not been able to catch that game, of the end of that game. But go Cyclones, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to watching the Colorado BYU game later tonight as well. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin, for your $10 donation and your support of the channel. What's up, WVU Mountaineer Lair with Kenny, who's a channel member. He's in the house. He says, hi, everyone. Earth Ether says, thanks, Kurt. We've got Outlaw of College Football with the $5 donation. Thank you, Outlaw. He says, didn't Oklahoma fans say there was no way in hell that Zach Alley would soil himself with WVU? I got the interview on my show about that. Yes, Outlaw. They did say that, and I would gladly come on and talk to you about that if we can work it out, brother. Absolutely. I was actually reading earlier in the show a couple comments from message boards that Oklahoma fans are just not. They are, as you would say, Outlaw, taking one of your phrases, they're wetting their diapers over there on the message boards. WVU Earl says, I hope this is for real. It seems like a dream after the last 6 years. Well, even though it hasn't been officially announced by the school, Pete Thamel came out with it. And how often, I'm not going to say Pete Thamel's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But how often, typically when Pete Thamel reports something, it's accurate, And as much as I, don't like to give credit to anybody at ESPN for anything, he was the first one out of the gate with the report. So I got to do the right thing and give him credit. But Thamel was on it. Football Scoop's been on some things regarding the West Virginia staff, but Pete Thamel was able to get this one out. Yep, love. I hope Iowa State can pull it off. Earth Ether, $4.99 donation. Sorry, I almost missed it, Earth Ether. Thank you for the support. He says, thanks, Couz. A new era begins. Get behind this year's team, I think he meant to say. We going places. Go West Virginia. Thank you, Earth Ether, for the support. Thank you for the super chat. What time does Colorado play BYU? I think the game starts at 7:30, I believe, Eastern time, Baron, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Daniel Gigax confirms it, 7:30. I am looking forward to watching that one. It'd be a big win. If Iowa State can pull off this win over Miami, it would be a huge win. With Miami being, Miami was one win away from being in the college football playoff. Iowa State obviously lost in the Big 12 title game. Did not play a good game against Arizona State. It's a chance for them. And it's a chance for Iowa State to get to 11 wins. And let's face it, Iowa State at one time was the worst football program, I shouldn't say. Them and Kansas at one time were arguably the two worst FBS teams, at least power teams, out there, right? They were dumpsters. They were in the dumpster. They were in the bottom, in the toilet, in the tank, whatever you want to call it, in college football. Matt Campbell led them to their very first 10-win season. And if they pull this game off, it'll be an 11-win season. So have to give them a shout out for that. Cody Cutright says they was just hoping he would go anywhere. That's right. They were not happy after that loss yesterday, but I don't think they wanted Zach Alley gone. Deep down, they're frustrated, but I think deep down they realized Zach Alley was a really good football coach, and they would have liked to have kept him. I think what's even more troubling for Oklahoma fans is this. A, you're Oklahoma, and you should be able to pay your coaches more than West Virginia should, at least in theory, right? So either A, they didn't step up to offer him more money to keep him, which means maybe they weren't serious about keeping him. B, they missed a boat on it and didn't, maybe took him for granted, didn't think he would leave, which would not be a good sign. Or things were so bad there, he wanted out anyway, and it wasn't just about money. If that's the case, then, they definitely have a right to be concerned. But yes, there were a lot of, to Outlaw's point, there were a lot of Oklahoma fans that didn't think his move would ever happen. We've got Damon Tillman in the house. He says, Couz, what role will Jeff Castile have on the coaching staff? We don't know yet, Damon. It apparently is not an analyst, which is what he was before. He apparently will be some sort of a coach. I have heard, like I mentioned earlier, through a source of mine, that he will not be recruiting, on the road recruiting. And it was also reported on Twitter that it would not be an analyst role. He will apparently be an off-field coach, but nobody knows where yet. I would assume it'll either be linebackers or the secondary, but we will see. And by the way, something that I didn't mention earlier with Zach Alley, he actually has experience coaching special teams in his career as well. So could he help with special teams? I don't know. We'll see. Outlaw of College Football says the Big 12 should be considered the third best Power 4, not the ACC. I would like to think so, Outlaw, but it's definitely a debate. Whether you agree with them getting in or not, the ACC did get two teams in the CFP. Whether SMU deserved to be in is a fair argument. Obviously, Clemson won the league, so they deserved it, even with the 12 seed. But and look, they played Texas fairly close in the fourth quarter, so they showed that they belonged, in my opinion. But you could argue that SMU probably should not have gotten in, and that's a fair argument, right? I had no issue with them getting in. But I thought Alabama had an argument. I thought BYU had an argument. Heck, even Iowa State somewhat had an argument. So it's a fair argument. If you look at resources and money, the ACC is slightly ahead of West Virginia. The Big 12. And if you look at the fact they do have a couple really valuable big-name brands in the league with Florida State and Clemson. That helps bolster the league's reputation a little bit. Of course, we all know that the league's kind of on unstable ground right now with the lawsuits, but I personally think the Big 12 is a better league, but I'm also kind of biased, and I acknowledge that. So it's great to hear somebody who's a fan of an SEC team, say that he thinks the Big 12 is a better league than the ACC. So thank you for that insight and that opinion. John Kelly says this is an awesome hire. I agree. Daniel Gigak says, I want Blaine as special teams coach. It would be poetic. That would be something else, Daniel, because I think that's the role his dad had when he was at West Virginia. But I'm not sure Blaine, I don't think he has any experience coaching special teams, does he? In special teams, I don't want to just throw somebody at special teams. Special teams is a very important part of the game. It gets overlooked a lot, but it is very important. And you can win a lot of football games if you're good at special teams. I think Kansas State has proven that over the years. We all remember Beamer Ball at Virginia Tech. They won a lot of games because of special teams play. So I would rather have somebody coaching special teams that has done it. But if Blaine Stewart has done it at somewhere down the line that I just am not aware of. So I trust Rich Rod with whatever decision he makes to put the right guys in the right spots. Iowa State just beat Miami. Go Big 12, baby. Go Big 12. That's right. Miami, take your Cam Ward, your Heisman quarterback, whatever, you say he's the best quarterback in the country. He just took an L. Is that backwards for y'all? He just took an L to Rocco Becht, Matt Campbell, and the 11-win Iowa State Cyclones. Now, as a West Virginia fan, let me look at this from the West Virginia perspective. If Iowa State can win 11 games, there is absolutely zero reason we can't at West Virginia. For all these naysayers out there who used to say, well, our expectations are too high at West Virginia. We don't have the money, yada, 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 yada. Iowa freaking State just won 11 football games. in the same conference we play in. Do not. Ward didn't play the second half. Big Dan T, thank you for that. I apologize. I didn't know that. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't get to watch the second half. But anyway, if Iowa State can win 11 games in a season, there is no reason West Virginia cannot do the same. West Virginia's resources are strong. Their history and brand, in my opinion, is as strong, if not stronger. The history's stronger, no doubt about it. West Virginia's 15th all-time in wins. But there's no reason West Virginia can't win 11 games in a season. I'm not saying they should do it every year, but by gosh, they should be able to do it once in a while. All right. And I did not know, guys, I did not know Cam Ward didn't play the second half. That definitely changes things, in my opinion, a little bit. Still don't want to take anything away from Iowa State and what they did and what they accomplished, but it probably would have been a different game had Cam Ward played the second half. But who cares? At the end of the day, it's going to go down as a win in the record books for Iowa State, so we'll take it. Earth Ether says, West Virginia brand is good. We want this. We want Rich Rod and staff, but by God, let's spot the ball. Great comment. Bill G in the house, another VIP member, says, great work, Mountaineers. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bob Swanger, who's a VIP member, says, Couz, he only played half the game. Yep. Again, I apologize. I wasn't aware of that when I made the comment. And I can totally understand it. He's going to probably be a first-round draft pick. So the fact he even played the first half, which may have been to get that record that Andrew Smith mentioned, pretty remarkable in my opinion. Outlaw of College Football says, woo, see, I called. Iowa State proves my point. Bengals just won. Who dey? First 11-win season for ISU. A W is a W. All great points. Well, listen, I don't really have a whole lot left to talk about here on this show. I know it's kind of a short for a live, but I just wanted to get on here and talk about the excitement of Zach Alley being hired as the new defensive coordinator at West Virginia. Wanted to go over his background a little bit, talk a little bit about some of the successes he's had, why it's a great hire for West Virginia, why Oklahoma fans are upset, and I just wanted to get on here and share my excitement and the thoughts with you guys on this awesome night. Earth Ether says, thanks, Couz. Let's go. By the way, little nugget about Trey Lathan. WV Fan 13 talks about Trey Lathan. Be good to return. He's a starting linebacker that entered the portal for West Virginia. We also know Josiah Trotter did, but Josiah Trotter has already committed and signed, I think, with Missouri. But Lathan, as far as I know, has not committed or signed anywhere. If that's the case, maybe he can get Lathan back in the fold. I did see over on the 24/7 board, somebody commented that sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Zach Alley followed Trey Lathan on X. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe he's trying to recruit him and get him back in the fold. Be interesting to see if he can. Outlaw makes a great point. Miami still scored 41, so it wasn't because Cam was out. Great point. Their offense was still putting up points even without Cam. Iowa State was still able to pull off the victory. So I don't want to minimize. I probably shouldn't minimize what Iowa State did here and what Matt Campbell was able to do, getting that squad to 11 wins for the first time in school history. So anybody that wants to say Matt Campbell's not a good football coach, I think he just proved everybody wrong again. Every time we start counting Iowa State out or Matt Campbell out, they always come back and have a great season. Happy New Year to everybody. Bob Swanger says they scored 31 in the first half. Couz, you're responsible for first home game tailgate. I don't know about that one, brother. Cody says we know who was cornerback coach. Do we? Or were you asking a question or making a statement? I'm assuming Zach Alley will be, because if he's a DC who also has a position responsibility, he will be coaching DBs. Yep, and Johnny Williams, the offensive lineman, also signed with Missouri as well. Thank you, G. Smyrna, 746, for pointing that out. And Missouri's getting a lot of guys, that so far they've gotten 2 guys from West Virginia. So they're going from wearing blue and gold to wearing black and gold over there at Mizzou, the team who took our spot in the friggin' SEC. I'll never be able to cheer for Missouri just for that reason alone. All right. Well, listen, I'm out of here. Thanks for everybody for hopping on here. Please don't forget to like it. Please don't forget to share it. Please don't forget to comment. If you're watching on X, please don't forget to come over to YouTube and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. All that helps the algorithm, helps me grow this thing. And right now, if you look at active YouTube channels, ones that are active and putting out content on a regular basis, I am the largest West Virginia-centric YouTube channel out there. So please help me remain there. Please help me grow it and get even bigger. The country roads are leading me to 10K, but I can't do it without your help and your support, just like you've been doing from the beginning. So thank you all. I'm out. Have a great night. Spot the ball, hold the rope, and cue country roads.